Good morning, good morning. Our book today is Danza, Amalia Hernandez and El Ballet Folclórico de Mexico. It is by Duncan Tunutua, and this is the author who's going to be a part of the Global Read Aloud next year. So very excited to share this book with you. Some of the books that will be included next year are listed on the back here. The Princess and the Warrior, Separate is Never Equal, and he has a lot of other great books. Pancho Rabbit and the Coyote, Diego Rivera, His World and Ours. Love it, love it, love it. So I can't wait to share this with you. Yesterday we read The Tooth Fairy Meets El Raton Perez, and so this book is about a very famous person from Mexico. So it kind of ties a lot of things together. It ties together the Global Read Aloud for next year. It is Women's History Month, and this is probably someone that my kiddos don't know a lot about, but I can't wait for you to learn. And I have so many students who love to dance, and I think this story is really going to be a hit with them. I love the illustrations too. Amalia Hernandez was born in Mexico City in 1917. That was over 100 years ago. And everyone assumed she would grow up to be a school teacher like her mother and her grandmother. Even Ami, as everyone called her, expected that. But one afternoon while her family was on vacation, Ami saw a pair of dancers in a town square. They stomped and swayed to the live music. The danzas they performed, dances, had been danced by people of that area for generations. Ami was hooked. She made a decision. She was going to be a dancer herself. Ami twirled in the living room and whirled in the kitchen. Amalia, scolded her father, a stern military man. But her mother encouraged Ami's interest in the arts, and one day her father gave in. He had a studio built in their home and hired the best dance teachers he could find. After school, Ami studied ballet with Madame Dombre, who had danced with the Paris Opera, and with Professor Zybin, who had danced with Pavlova's world-renowned Russian ballet. Ami worked on her technique and made sure she always pointed her feet. She perfected the different structured positions and became an accomplished ballerina. First position, fifth position, arabesque, pirouette, and grand battement. I don't know that one, and Lord knows I can't do that one. In 1939, two dancers from the United States visited Mexico City, where Ami lived. They performed a new style of dance called modern. Amalia was deeply impressed. The movements were expressive, and they could be jarring when compared to the delicate movements of ballet. Love the color. Ami met Waldine, one of the modern dancers, and began to study with her. She also continued practicing ballet. Ami was very talented and disciplined. In time, she became a dance teacher and a choreographer herself. A choreographer is a person who creates dance steps and arranges them together to create new dance pieces. In 1952, after rehearsing for months, Ami and other dancers gave a performance. They presented many different dances, but the one the audience clapped for the most was a piece called Sones de Michoacan. Ami was the choreographer, and the dance was similar to the regional danza that she had seen in the town square when she was a little girl. Ami had an idea. She decided that she would create ballets based on the folkloric dances from the different regions of Mexico. She was so excited that she formed her own company with 7 other dancers. Ami began to travel to villages all around the country to learn as much as she could about the area's traditional dances. She read about the history of each place and talked with elders. When possible, she participated in the danzas herself. She paid special attention to the steps, the music, and the outfits the people wore. It's a big iguana. Ooh. After returning home, Ami would go to the dance studio. The danzas y ballets she saw in the villages were for ceremonial purposes, like celebrating a patron saint or hoping for a good harvest. Other times, the dances happened so people could have fun and meet new friends. However, the dance pieces Ami was creating excuse me, were meant to be performances for audiences to watch in a theater. Ami used her skills as a choreographer and her knowledge of both ballet and modern dance to make the pieces innovative and beautiful. She made sure the dancers wore dazzling costumes and that there was dramatic lighting and spectacular backdrops. Audiences loved the folkloric ballets, and Amalia's dance company quickly became very famous. In 1954, they performed on the Función de Gala television show. They danced on the show every week for more than 60 weeks. The company grew to include 20 dancers and then 50. The company's repertoire, or stock of dances, included ballets based on mestizo ballets, like the Sony's Jarochos from Veracruz. Mestizo is the combination of Amerindian, American Indian, European, and African traditions. In this ballet, musicians dressed in white played the harp and guitars as the dancers stomped on a tarima. I love this page in the book too. The company's repertoire also included ballets on indigenous danzas, like La Danza de Venado from the Yaqui in the Sonoran Desert, and Los Quetzales from the Najas and Totonaco people in the Valley of Mexico. I'm sure Senora Krause is going to correct all the things I've misspoke, mispronounced. Some of the company's ballets were not based on traditional dances, but were original pieces inspired by Mexico's pre-Columbian past. Ami wanted to celebrate the history of her country. She looked at the sculptures and the art that ancient civilizations like the Aztecs and the Maya had created. She conceived dance steps for ballets like La Gran Tenochtitlan based on that art. Tenochtitlan was a huge city in Mexico. That's where Mexico City is now. Some ballets were inspired by more recent history and by music like the polka and waltz, which were popular with the wealthy in the 19th century, or by corridos, which were popular with the poor at the beginning of the 20th century. Ami would often dance as Juana Gallo, a fierce female soldier of the time. Another one of my favorite pages of the book. The company became a great success not only in Mexico but abroad, too. In 1959, the Mexican government asked it to represent Mexico in the Pan American Games. These games are similar to the Olympics, but only athletes from the Americas compete, so North America, Central America, South America. It was a great honor to be part of such an important event. That year, Ami decided to call the company El Ballet Folclórico de Mexico, Mexico's folkloric ballet. The company became truly international in 1961 when it won the first prize at the prestigious Festival of Nations in Paris. Famous ballets and important dance troupes from all over the world competed at the event. After the folkloric ballet won, it was invited to tour Europe. Later on, it visited Japan and Australia. The dancers even performed next to the Great Sphinx in Egypt. Magnificent. To be touring the world was exciting for Ami, but it was not simple to arrange. The company needed transportation for 50 or so dancers, musicians, and sound and lighting technicians, and more than 3 tons of costumes. Ami decided to stop dancing so she could focus on choreographing and directing the company. She was now like a general, much like her military father, supervising all the different people involved in the folkloric ballet and making sure shows came out perfectly. The company had so many engagements that Ami had to create 2 groups, one to travel around the world and one to offer performances in Mexico. In 1968, Ami opened a dance school. Her brother, who was an architect, designed the building, which housed studios and classrooms. At the school, students could learn folkloric dance and also ballet and modern dance. Often the dancers who studied at the school became professionals in Amalia's company. As the years passed, Ami continued teaching and supervising the folkloric ballet's rehearsal. She had become a school teacher after all, like her mother and her grandmother. So she incorporated the qualities of both her parents. That military organization, get things in order type from her father, and then teaching, like her mother and grandmother. Amalia Hernandez passed away on November 5th, 2000, but her legacy lives on. El Ballet Folclórico de Mexico performs every Wednesday and Sunday at the Palacio de Bellas Artes, the Palace of Fine Arts in Mexico City. They have been doing so without interruption for more than 50 years. The company also continues to tour internationally. Today, there are thousands of Mexican folkloric dance groups, both professional and amateur, in Mexico and the United States. Perhaps you've seen one perform at your school or in your neighborhood for Cinco de Mayo. Maybe you've even dressed as a charro and danced El Jarabe Tapatio. I know I have. Not me, the author. Ami inspired generations of dancers to perform these danzas. She made the folkloric dances of Mexico known around the world, and she encouraged people of Mexican origin to feel pride in their roots and in their traditional dances. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love this book. Have a great weekend. See you soon.